Welcome back to In Front of IT. This is Rick. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about installing WSL2. And what is WSL2? WSL2 stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux version 2. And what exactly is that? It's Linux running inside of Windows natively. There are several alternative ways to do this. One way is VirtualBox, which is a platform that allows you to run virtual machines in Windows. You run Linux, you can run Windows virtual machines, and that was pretty much the gold standard for a no-cost solution in Windows to do virtualization up until recently. Another way is to install Docker Desktop and Docker in Windows and run Linux in containers. But using WSL2, which is the method provided by Microsoft, has so far, from my point of view, been the most integrated and smoothest way to run Linux within Windows. And just like VirtualBox or containers, you can run several different variations of a Linux-based operating system within WSL2. And you can run them at the same time or side by side, turn them on and off independently. The only limits is your hardware that you're running them on and what Linux versions are available, which isn't every version of Linux, just a select few. You have a full Linux kernel, you can run Linux tools, and with the later versions of Windows 10 and Windows 11, you can actually start up right from the command line graphical applications that run in Windows. So it's really an excellent way to have your convenience of Windows on your system, but you want to learn Linux as well. You want to get into IT. This is a great way of doing that without having to dual boot or replace your operating system with Linux or anything that drastic. It also allows for very convenient development. You can run applications like Docker and Kubernetes right in that Linux kernel, that Windows Subsystem for Linux. You can also integrate with Windows tools for coding, programming, or development like Visual Studio Code. And I'll be showing all of that in a later video. Right now, let's get started with the installation. First thing we want to do is log in, and we're going to check the version of Windows 10 that we're running. We need to be running a minimum version to be able to install WSL2. So we check that by clicking on the Start menu and then choosing Settings and then System, and then About. Here under Windows Specifications is what we're looking for. We see the edition is Windows 10 Enterprise, and you don't have to be running Windows 10 Enterprise. You could also install WSL2 on Windows Home and Windows Pro editions. The version we want is at least version 2004 or 2004. And we also want to check the OS build to make sure we're really on the right version so these instructions work. And you want to be on a build of 19041 or higher. And as you can see, we're on build 19045 here, so we're good. So we exit out of the settings menu and we're going to start a command prompt as administrator. In the command prompt, we're going to type WSL space -- install, like you see on the screen. That will install WSL version 2 and the default Linux distribution for WSL, Ubuntu. After about a minute or two, you'll get this pop up. Just click yes here to allow this to be installed, so the installation can continue. After installing all the components for WSL, it will then start installing Ubuntu. The install of Ubuntu will take a while, so we're going to edit our way through this. Take a look at the output and just make sure that you see that Ubuntu was successfully installed and that the entire operation was successful. Once you see that, you can go ahead and close the command prompt and do a restart of the system. The Windows OS is going to do some additional updates during the reboot to complete the install of WSL2. Once Windows is done installing updates and comes back up, go ahead and log in. Now it's going to automatically complete the Ubuntu installation. Now for this part of the installation, you're going to have some patience. But it is going to take a while, at least a few minutes to complete installing Ubuntu. Once the installation of components for Ubuntu is complete, it's going to ask you for a username. Easiest thing might be to use the same username you're using in Windows, but you can use whatever you want. In this case, for my setup, I'm going to use the username of Coach. And the very secure password of password. Of course, for your setup, you want to use a more secure password. Once you retype the password to confirm it, your Ubuntu installation in WSL2 is installed. Okay, first thing we're going to do is update the system using the sudo apt update command. Sudo is a command that, whenever used, will allow your user to run a command as an administrator. Apt is the package manager for Ubuntu. So what we're doing here is pulling the repositories from the internet and updating the package repositories locally. Next, we're going to upgrade any packages that have newer versions on the internet. We're going to do that using the sudo apt upgrade command. Update updates the repositories, and upgrade actually pulls down the newer packages and upgrades the packages. After we're done with the updates, we're going to go ahead and try to run xterm, which is a graphical terminal, to see if the Ubuntu installation is working and if it could open up graphical applications in Windows. And we're going to do that by running xterm. Okay, as you can see from this error message, xterm is not installed, but it does tell us how we can install it using sudo again and apt install xterm. And that command is pretty self-explanatory, so we're going to go ahead and run that now. So running that command will install all the dependencies for the xterm program. Okay, now that the packages are installed, we're going to try it one more time. So we type xterm at the command line. And there it is. Xterm starts its GUI application in Windows. So we have a working Ubuntu installation in WSL2. So there are some other useful commands with WSL, which I'll go over quickly here. One useful command is WSL-list-online. What that does is shows you what available distributions of Linux there are for WSL version 2 on the internet that you could pull down. Running just WSL-list will show you what Linux distributions you have installed locally. And as you see here, it just shows Ubuntu as the default installation. Going back to the Ubuntu window, we can type the following command to quickly get the version of Ubuntu that we have installed. And doing that, we run the command cat/etc/lsb-release. From there, we see that the default version of Ubuntu is 22.04 LTS. Last WSL command I'll go over is a very useful one. It actually allows you to install a different distribution than the default. And we do that by running WSL-install-d and the name of the distribution you want to install, which you get from the WSL-list-online command. It'll go through a similar process that it did from the initial install, except all it's going to do is install the new operating system that you choose. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. This is Rick from In Front of IT, and I'll see you on the next one.